I'm Simply Native and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, welcome and thank you for joining me and supporting my channel. I really appreciate it. Today we're going to talk about the palette hashtag. This hashtag was started by Allie Glines and Samantha March. And basically what it is, it's a hashtag to talk about your palettes. It's a great excuse to do it, I must say. So today we're going to talk about our most favorite, our least favorite, our most expensive, and so on and so forth. That's basically how it goes. And everyone has different palettes and everyone has, you know, a variety of different things to talk about each palette. So I'm going to start out with my most expensive palette. My most expensive palette is this one right here. It's also my newest palette. And I feel like it's also probably my most colorful palette. I don't own a palette that is this colorful. It is absolutely gorgeous. I love it very, very much. I don't think I made a bad decision in spending a whole $60 on a palette. Now, $60 might not seem a lot to a lot of people when it comes to a palette, especially like the ones that are able to afford like a Natasha Denona palette for $129 or a Pat McGrath that's $125. Maybe one day I'll splurge and buy one of those, but for now, this has been my biggest purchase when it comes to a palette. So my least expensive palette, however, is this little guy. My Wet n Wild palette. I think I paid $4.99 for this. So it's a huge difference when it comes to the price. The quality is definitely not as good as the Norvina palette. It's definitely not as cute either. The packaging leaves you just wanting for a little bit more. However, if you need a palette and it works well, this definitely does work well. So, I mean, you can't complain for $5, right? The next category that I'm going to use is my most favorite Morphe palette and my least favorite Morphe palette. And I'm going to start out with my favorite. And I have to say, the Jaclyn Hill Morphe palette is my favorite palette. It's probably actually my most used palette. As you can see, it is dirty as can be. But I've gotten so much use out of this. It's ridiculous. And I absolutely love it. Now, my least favorite Morphe palette and probably my least used Morphe palette is this one right here. Bronzed Goals palette. I don't know what's up with these shadows, but they are definitely lackluster. The shimmers, I'm okay with the mattes. I think the mattes perform well. I don't find that they're real patchy. I haven't used every single matte in this shadow palette, but the shimmers I've probably used about 90% of them, and they definitely leave you wanting more shimmer. Like 9 times out of 10, I'm going to throw glitter on this because it's just not shimmery enough. That just goes to say that this is my least favorite Morphe palette. My next category, I am going to start with my oldest palette and my newest palette. Now, technically, my newest palette is my Norvina palette, but the next newest palette, I couldn't use the same palette for the same category. So I'm just going to go with my Carly Bible palette. I bought this recently on sale. It was on a great deal, like I want to say $21.50 or something like that, but it was really inexpensive. I love that. But you want to know what? I've used the heck out of this thing already. I mean, you can kind of see the shadows have been used, especially this one over here. I've used that one quite a bit. I really love this palette. I think it's a great everyday palette too. Like I could pull this out and throw a shadow on anytime with this palette. It's wonderful. My oldest palette. This thing is probably, I don't know if I want to admit it. Honestly, it's probably got to be 8 years old, maybe, something like that. Barely used. I actually had another one exactly like this, but it fell apart, and I got another one because I really loved it. But after I bought this one, I never used it again. Well, I did use it once, I think, because maybe I just swatched it because it looks like it looks like a little bit used, but not very used. I can tell you that much right now. And my next category is going to be my most colorful palette, even though I know my Norvina palette Volume 4 is the most colorful out of all that I own. But this one is actually the most colorful, like, range of colors: orange, pink, green, brown. It's actually more like a mauvey brown. But this is my most colorful palette. And this is the ABH Norvina Pro Pigment Palette Volume 2, Mini Pro Pigment Volume 2. And this is what it looks like on the inside. And it is gorgeous. I've actually used this quite a few times. I haven't played with the very bright neon colors in here yet, but I do want to do that someday. Now, I feel like my least colorful palette is probably my Soft Glam palette. I feel like, I mean, it has color to it, but it's not colorful. Like, it doesn't have a variety of different colors in it. And although I love this palette, it's very well used. As you can see, it's well used. I just don't think it's the most colorful palette. It makes some beautiful, beautiful eye looks. I am moving on to my favorite palette and my least favorite palette. And I say my favorite palette because I literally reach for this almost every time I do my eyeshadow. I have to force myself not to use this palette. So to me, that means it's my favorite palette. I mean, what else can I say? It's the Sultry palette. And I absolutely love this. I wore this in my last video reviewing the Wayne Goss lipsticks. I really was going to use my Norvina palette for that video, but something just makes me gravitate toward this. I don't know if it's this beautiful, like, color here that's so gorgeous in the crease. This one is also gorgeous in the crease and all over the lid. And this one, I think it's called Dystopian. Dystopian is great for, like, the lower lash line. And I mean, the shimmers in here are just to die for. And if you want to warm any of these colors up, you just add this one to it, and it's like a whole transformed color. Like, it's warmer. If I add this color to this color, it's like a completely different shadow. Like, it's just so gorgeous. I love it. It's very versatile. It can be worn every day. It can be worn at night. Actually, it is a great day to night palette. So say you're at work and you want to go out that night for drinks or something with your friends, just bring this palette and a shadow brush, 2 shadow brushes, maybe like a liner brush to smudge out the bottom lash line, and another like blending brush to smoke out the corner. This is the one. Okay, so now my least used palette, my least favorite palette, has got to be this Jaclyn Hill Morphe palette. It's Bling Boss. I wanted this palette so bad because of the purples in here, and I was just so disappointed, especially with this like shimmery shade right here. It reminds me a lot of the Bronzed Goals palette with the shimmers. The shimmers are just so lackluster and just needing more, you know, they're just needing more. So I'm going to also talk about my most underrated palettes. I love these palettes. In my mind, I feel like these are kind of like dupe palettes, but they're amazing. And I'm going to show both of them because I love both of these. This was a palette I got before I purchased Soft Glam. Before I even knew Soft Glam existed, I had this palette. And I don't know how that happened because I work in the makeup industry, but I was like, this is gorgeous. Like, I wore the heck out of this. The shimmers are gorgeous. The warm colors are gorgeous. It's just a really beautiful palette, and it performs amazingly. Like, so good. Better than some of my high-end palettes. As good as the original Soft Glam palette. This is called Velvet Rose. This one is called the Visionary. I think, honestly, that this is supposed to be a dupe for the Norvina palette. The original Norvina palette, the purple one. And I have to say, the only shadow in here that I'm not super impressed by is this like shimmer right here. You can't really even tell it's a shimmer because it doesn't really do much. Like, I can sometimes get it to work in the corner if I spray it and stuff like that, but it's pretty lackluster. But I'm going to tell you, the rest of the colors in this palette are hands down, they're gorgeous. For the price, I think these are like $7, I think, something like that. Those are the palettes that I consider the most underrated. I don't think I've seen either one of those palettes in anyone's videos, but they definitely should be because they're really good for the price. And if you're looking for palettes like the Soft Glam but just can't afford it, why not go with something that's just as good? My next palettes are my most overrated palettes. It saddens me because I really wanted to love these, and I'm telling you, they are hyped to the heavens. These palettes, people love these palettes so much. I waited online to get these palettes for so long. The Mini Controversy and the Conspiracy palette. Now, I'm not saying they're bad. I mean, my boyfriend's purse, it looks like a shimmer, but it's not really a shimmer. Like, I wanted it to be a shimmer because there was really only 3 shimmery shades in this whole palette, and there were these ones here. And I don't know. This one, I'm just not that impressed by it. And then we go to the Conspiracy palette. Now, I've used this. I've used it quite a few times, actually. But this guy right here, this one, and which other one? Oh, Diet Cola. I was expecting more from this green shade right here. I really wanted it to be bright and vibrant, but it went on so like chalky and dusty and kind of like fluffed away, and I was kind of sad about that. And Diet Cola, I was really wanting it to be like this silver that no other silver has ever been. You know what I mean? Like, that's what I was expecting, but I just didn't get it. It's very dusty also. I don't know. Maybe I'll just give it another try. I know that one of my looks that I did with this sleep paralysis color, this one right here, I got the worst reaction from that. My eyes are very sensitive and I could not wear that all day. So maybe I'll skip that color and try some other colors. But I was really sad about this because this is a really expensive palette. It's almost as expensive as my Norvina palette. I think it was like $58. I bought it for my birthday for myself, and it took a while to get here. So I was really hoping for more, but it just wasn't what I was expecting, sadly. So I think that's it for today. I have gone through all my palettes that I think are noteworthy. I enjoyed filming this for you. I hope you enjoy watching it. Please give me a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you loved it and want to see more of my content. Hit the little bell so the notifications will pop up on your phone whenever I post a new video. And I appreciate you so much, and I'll see you next time. Bye.